What if Naruto had every kekkei genkai part 3? Let's go. Itachi and Naruto started to grow closer and closer, and even became friends. Rather, Naruto definitely considered Itachi a friend, and Itachi was warming up to Naruto as well. They ate together, smiled together, walked together, and enjoyed their time. Of course, Itachi was still pretty stressed. He was still basically leaving the area near the Leaf Village as he was gonna be hunted by everyone in the village. He needed a permanent place to stay, or at least an actual place, not a tent every night. And he had a plan. Well, until he met Naruto, that is. He just came to pick up ailments from Orochimaru. Of course, he couldn't tell Orochimaru that, but he got them anyways. He only used the genjutsu after all, so he didn't kill anyone. If you're wondering what he picked up from Orochimaru's bunker, well, it was medicine. Itachi knew that he was gonna get sick pretty soon, and there were already some signs of it, which is why he wanted to prepare as much as possible, as he still had to survive until his younger brother met him, and they could end their long rivalry and hate for each other. Or rather, Sasuke's hate for his older brother Itachi, and Itachi could die in peace, knowing that he saved his brother from even more misery. That would still be a while, so for now, he would just have to keep himself safe and healthy. But what would he do with Naruto? They'd now been traveling for about 2 weeks, but don't know much about each other. Naruto has figured out that Itachi did something very bad, likely to his own clan, and then had to leave his village. But all Itachi knows of Naruto is that he was experimented on by Orochimaru and Kabuto, and for some reason has a pretty Uchiha-like appearance. Yes guys, you heard right. Naruto has black hair, as his naturally blonde spiky hair turned much darker. With the Senju genes he got, it turned a little darker, more of a brownish color, but then with the Uchiha genes, it turned even darker into more of a blackish color. So Naruto does not have yellow hair, he has more blackish hair. Naruto and Itachi continued to travel. They traveled through beautiful mountain ranges, through cold, snowy deserts, through thick, green, airy forests, and through many towns and villages, though Itachi mostly covered up whenever there were people around, and even then, he didn't want to go to many towns or villages in the first place. The two grew incredibly close and liked each other. Itachi had a friend, and when he ever wanted to talk, he could. And Naruto sometimes just talked to each other, not even expecting an answer, but he just wanted a human to talk to. He loved Kurama, of course, but it was nice to talk to Itachi too. However, at this point, Itachi was already hatching a plan. This one not about himself, but rather about Naruto. As Naruto would quickly be approaching the age of 8, Itachi had a plan, had an idea that Naruto should go ahead and meet his brother. Not specifically his brother, but should go to the village hidden in the leaves. The village that had forced Itachi to leave, but also the village that Itachi loved to the dearest of his heart. The village that he healed and saved, though was seen as a villain, a murderer. Itachi wanted Naruto to go to the Hidden Leaf Academy to become a shinobi, meet his brother, and someday they would likely reunite. However, it might be on the battlefield. Itachi doesn't say anything about his future plans to Naruto, plans that he has ideas that he might be able to join the Akatsuki and it would actually benefit him greatly, or anything like that. Without saying a word, they turned back as they were heading in one direction, towards the land of mist, though now we're heading to completely the opposite way, towards the land of fire. Specifically, the village hidden in the leaves. Naruto was kind of curious, though didn't suspect anything specific, and then, a week later, they arrived at the gates of the Hidden Leaf village. Naruto knew that Itachi couldn't show himself in the village, and asked if he should buy some supplies, but Itachi had a different plan. "I'm sorry, little one." Itachi said as 1 second later, he used his Sharingan, which he flared up, and used Tsukuyomi on Naruto. Itachi then knocked Naruto out after he was already paralyzed. Naruto, not being able to do anything, even with Kurama, now wakes up in an alleyway, alone between two two-story buildings. When he looks around and goes on the street next to it, he sees the Hokage building. Wait, but this means I'm in Konoha. Wait, how did I get here? Flashback. Itachi disguised himself using the transformation jutsu, as well as clothing that would conceal his identity, sealed his chakra away into himself for a little bit, and took as many precautions as he could, and then was as fast as possible to deliver Naruto into a random street and leave him there. However, before completely leaving the village, he made sure to show that he's still there. When I say he paid a visit to a certain friend, Naruto looked around the village, looked for people. It was quite a busy day. There were many people shopping for goods, and everyone seemed happy. Perhaps a kind of festival, though Naruto was truly irritated and wanted to get back at Itachi. He thought that this was a kind of prank that Itachi was pulling, and really he was just buying groceries or something. He was gonna get Naruto back, of course. Of course, right? For now, Naruto walked through the village. He saw many people. Many much older than him, even older than Itachi. And some, weirdly, even older than Orochimaru. Naruto has seen quite a few things on his travels with Itachi and has gotten more familiar with the world, though of course, he is still an outsider to many things. He doesn't know all the ways that people can look different, wear different things, and is just not accustomed to normal everyday speech, events, items used, and stuff like that. Orochimaru taught him practical things, and Itachi never really went to villages that much, and he didn't want to have Naruto go alone, so they just kind of never really went to that many people, which is why Naruto has a big lack of experience when it comes to social skills. However, for the first time in quite a long time, he saw people his own age. There were mostly girls. Naruto wasn't sure why they were traveling in a pack, though there was probably some reason, or perhaps they wanted to go to a certain event altogether. Whatever the reason may be, they looked kind and nice. Naruto was amazed at all the different hair colors and things that people dress up. Some wore one piece of clothing that was quite long. Some wore many different pieces of clothing, each one not that large. Some had pink hair, some blonde, others black, some brown. It was incredible, the diversity here. But really, Naruto hasn't seen anything yet. Are you lost, my dear? An old lady comes up to Naruto and asks him, no? Why do you need to know that? Naruto doesn't know how to respond and is actually kind of annoyed. He feels that she's underestimating his might, his ability. He hasn't really talked to any elderly people, so they're kind of a mystery to him and all. Well, alright then. Have a nice day. The woman smiled nicely and kept on walking. She had two really young kids, one girl and one boy on either side of her, each interlocking with one of her hands. Naruto was completely amazed. She was handling two kids at the same time, in such a manner. It was amazing. And then there were three people walking together, but these other than the other ones. They all had dogs. Wait a minute. I once learned about this. These are the what's its name? People of the Inozuka clan, that's it. They have dogs, that's interesting. I wonder what you can do with dogs. And, I mean, in battle. They're fast, but really? Aren't they gonna get hit? They don't exactly wear armor, so how are they gonna protect themselves from any jutsu? That's pretty stupid if you ask me. Naruto walked along. He continued on his way as he finally saw what looked to be the Ninja Academy. However, when going inside, there was no one there. He checked all the rooms, which took quite a while as there was more than he expected, but there was no one in the entire building. And he actually stumbled upon a door, but it was an upside down door. It wasn't on the wall, it was on the floor. And opening it, he saw that it led to underground paths which go quite far. And so he explored, thinking that perhaps the people are down here. So he walked through all the canon ways, all the paths. And he was taught to memorize everywhere he goes. That's why he's able to know basically everywhere where he is, as he has an exceptional sensory ability that allows him to remember where he is, where he ever traveled to, and just from little things like the sun, stars, speed of clouds, notable natural landmarks like mountains, or even old trees and big rocks and stones, he's able to determine pretty accurately where he is, and sometimes even when. He's able to determine the time of day to closest half hour. So he basically can always round to half an hour, and he knows exactly what time of the day it is just by looking at the sky. And has many instincts and abilities that help him survive out in the wild, being able to hunt, pick berries, mushrooms, and much more. Of course, there he greatly needed his sensory abilities and sureness, and be conscious of where and when he is. Anyway, so going through all these paths, he remembers every turn he takes and is able to count in his head without having to count at the beginning. He randomly thought, I wonder how I've been going for this long, and there's still much more path to explore. So immediately in his head, a number popped up, and he knew exactly how many steps he'd traveled and how much of a distance that is in meters. In feet, it's a little over 3 times, by the way. But Naruto finally decides to go back to the academy building where he came from and lock the door. Now, it took him about 5 hours to go through all the paths, go to each one of the dead ends, and come back, as there were dead ends laid out to trap enemies if they ever went into the leaf and went through these tunnels, as they were made for safety. And Konoha shinobi know exactly where each path leads to, or at least most of them. Of course, not every single one, but the trained shinobi do. But there's hidden signs and marks to know exactly where you are that intruders can't read. So these paths are basically just to keep intruders away in case that you need to flee. And Naruto now knows the entire system without having to read any of the markings on the floor and walls and lighting. He knows each path, where it leads to, how it splits, where it splits, when it splits, and if it's a dead end or not, and everything, even what kind of buildings were atop. If it was a restaurant, it was a little warmer, and even a little wetter. So just the air moisture was higher, as more water was used in that area. And tiny details like that, Naruto was easily able to pick up without even focusing on it. So Naruto is now walking through the village, as it had already gotten very dark and no one was out anymore. So Naruto decided to sleep in the same alley that he came from, so that Itachi could pick him up on the next morning and they could be on their way back. Though Itachi never arrived. But that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.